Hi folks, John with the Wingman 115 channel. Thank you so much for checking in. Today we're going to be doing a knife review on the Work Tuff gear Lamigo. Now, Work Tuff gear is a relatively new company. They've been around for a couple years, but they've been making knives for a lot of people for a lot of years, and they're starting to distribute knives under their own brand. I had a chance to get one of these, and I've been using it now for about a month and a half, 2 months, out in the woods, just learning the ins and outs of this knife. So today we're going to be showcasing this blade. I'm going to do a quick specs rundown as always. Then I'm going to take it out to the woods for some practical application. And then as always, we'll do a 360 and bring it right back here for some final thoughts. Folks, it doesn't get any better than this. Knives, the woods, life is good. The video starts now. Before I cut away to the practical application, in my last video, I stated to subscribers or viewers out there to post up any suggestions on how they would like to see this knife reviewed and to leave it in the comments, and they would win a channel patch. Well, I picked a winner for this video, and that winner is Willie P00. And Willie's comment was, "It's a knife review, batoning, bark, limbing, trimming, feather sticks, food prep. There isn't a new way to test a knife unless you abuse it absurdly. Maybe drop it from orbit and run it over with a bulldozer on gravel. Focus on your sharpening, show initial edge and what you did to get the edge you wanted, mess ups and all." Willie P, thank you so much for posting that comment. Get a hold of me, send me a message, and I will get a channel patch sent out to you on that. Now, without further ado, let's cut away and do some practical application with this knife. We're going to do some batoning with the Lamigo, see how well it matches up. Now, look at the grain on this. It's pretty twisted. This is going to be a test on this blade on how well it's going to be able to go through there. You guys know how much I love batoning on this channel. This is some tough piece of wood because you can feel the twist in it. There we go. As you can see, that stuff's just like petrified. But let's try it again. Let's break it down now. We're gonna work this bad boy because you guys want to see how well this D2 steel is gonna hold up. And we're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So let's try a little bit of chopping now. Keep in mind, this is a pretty dead, petrified limb, but should still give us an idea of how well this blade can chop. One of the biggest questions I get in any video is, does the knife have a 90-degree spine and will it strike a ferro rod? Well, I thought I would demonstrate that for you. Yes, it does have a 90-degree spine, and it has no problem striking a ferro rod. Let's do some scraping tasks. That 90-degree spine is cutting right through that bark. Not a problem at all. Does a really good job at stripping the bark. All right, let's try doing some feather sticks with the Lamigo. I'm gonna choke up on that choil, get up real close, get some control on this blade. Just messing around with nice little, almost paper thin corkscrews. And that's what I like about a recurve blade as well. As you can see, there's a slight recurve in this knife, which just makes it perfect for doing these real paper thin corkscrew curls that you just know are going to take a spark real easy. Let's try a little bit of chopping. Like say we were doing some camp tasks and we had to make some little camp tools or utensils. You're going to need to chop stuff. Now this is a piece of oak that was around camp here. Not a bad chopper. I get situated what I call the back seat grip, where I just put my 3 fingers on the back, my pinkies off the pommel. I get a nice pendulum swinging motion with the blade doing that, and it just makes for a really effective chopper when I'm not hitting the camera with wood particles. But really nice, well balanced too in the hand. Now for some final thoughts on the Lamigo from Work Tuff Gear. First off, if you folks have followed along on the channel, you know that I love recurve blades, and the Lamigo has just a ever so gentle recurve in that blade, a nice big belly, just beautiful looking drop point design. I also like a saber grind, and it has a convex edge on there. I think that that's a perfect match for this style of blade. Now let's talk about the spine. For you folks out there that love your 90-degree spines for scraping those ferro rods, for scraping bark off, for doing camp tasks and such, well, you're not going to be disappointed. The 90-degree spine on this blade is very sharp, and it had no problem striking that ferro rod and just raking the bark off that sapling. It just did a great job. The jimping on the spine, I actually enjoyed it. It's not abrupt and overpowering. It doesn't dig into my thumb. Because I'm a person, I don't like to use gloves when I'm out in the field. I don't know why. as a kid and growing up. I just never have. I just like working with my bare hands, and sometimes your hands get wet. The jimping would become irritating, but this one, not a problem at all. It was just a pleasure to work with, and I've been using this blade now for about a month and a half or 2 months, going out, just trying to get some time with it so I can give the best opinion on this blade for you folks out there. Let's talk about finger choil. Folks are either a fan of them or they don't like them. I happen to like them. I like being able to get up close, be able to do those fine motor skills, those detail cuts, whether you're making traps or you're making little tools, whatever you're making, it just makes it a lot easier to use the blade and those fine motor skills. The handles. The handles are made out of G10. They have the high visibility scales. They also come in black as well, if you like that color. They are textured to look like wood. And I'll tell you what, chopping and slicing and cutting, the knife was very secure in the hand, and it has an ever so gentle palm swell in the handle as well. So if you have medium-sized hands, it's not going to be a problem. It's going to fit really well. And I really like the attention to detail of how the scales are radiused towards the spine of the knife. And I haven't found any high spots. Just the quality has been really good with this knife. Now, let's talk about the steel and let's talk about the heat treat, because I think this is a value added feature to this knife. Let's talk about the steel on this blade, because in my last video that I did, a showcase of this knife, folks were going crazy in the comments going, oh, it's Chinese D2 steel, blah, 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 just going nuts. Well, let not your heart be troubled. This knife is made out of Bohler K110 D2 steel from Austria. That sort of steel is primarily used for tooling and for devices that need to cut other metal where you need good wear resistance. Also, doubled with that, they also cryo quench these knives. Now, you're probably asking yourself, what is a cryo quench? Well, cryo quenching is where you take the steel and you put it in liquid nitrogen at a temperature of either 112 minus Fahrenheit for up to 5 hours, or you do it for 321 degrees minus Fahrenheit for 35 hours. And it just changes the molecular structure to the steel, just making it just uber tough. Now, I've tested blades in the past, 1095, that had a cryo quench to them, and they are very tough steel, very good at edge retention. I've been using this knife now for about a month and a half, 2 months, and I have not had to sharpen it. I haven't stropped it, haven't done anything to it. I wanted to do some long-term playing around with it just to see how that edge would hold. Now, it could be that it's got a convex edge to it with that saber grind that might add a little bit to it, but the steel and the Rockwell hardness, I think, also is attributed to that as well. So you're getting a lot of value for the money with the Lamigo. Now, let's talk about the sheath. Knife does come with a sheath. Snaps in there real good. Had no problems with the knife falling out, not loose. And you can set it up on a couple different configurations. A lot of people also do aftermarket stuff. They like to make something their own and add their own personal mojo to that. But it comes with a pretty nice sheath just right out of the box. And like I said, you get good, secure fit in there. Now, let's go over our rating on this blade. Now, you folks know that I rate stuff between 1 star and 5 stars. 1 being a dumper, it's going to the boneyard, we got to redo. 5, it's a grand slam. I think with everything you've seen here, the steel, the cryo quenching, the use of it, the functionality, the design, I'm going to give it 5 stars. This is a grand slam here on the channel. And I think that the average person that picks one of these up is going to be extremely happy with Lamigo. One, it just looks freaking nice. Now, I will leave links in the video description below on where you can find the Lamigo if you want to learn more about it and if you want to pick one up. Folks, this is John with the Wingman 115 channel. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care, folks.